Let me just change the meeting options. I'm going to... People dialing in can bypass the lobby. Yeah. AI has entered the room. There's a surprise. AI is always in the room. Come on, allow me to. These functions, people, everyone, bypass that. Oh, okay, everyone can bypass lobby. Let's make it easy. Welcome to my chuntering, folks. This is me. I talk to myself an awful lot. So we'll get started in a few minutes. Still waiting on our first speaker of the evening.
I don't mind going first if that makes things easier, if they're caught up somewhere.
I'll just message Malin now and just make sure that we're all good. Oh, Malin did join us and then left and... Hello, Malin!
Hello!
Good evening. Oh, there she is. Oh, there's a smiling face that I miss. How are you doing?
I am good. I just, as one should, you have some Teams issues in getting started.
Standard, yeah. Yeah, standard. I am just trying to do a quick social post to remind everybody we're here.
I'd love to have been in Microsoft the day that someone forgot to renew the breach certificate on Teams.
Oh.
Yeah. Luckily, it happened at 6 o'clock on 6 o'clock UK time on a Friday night, but it hit America. So I don't think anyone was worried about the UK at that time.
Good fun. Teams is always fun.
Yeah, it is. It is. Let me just grab a link. We've got people coming in, so we'll get started in a minute. Yeah. I'm not as organised as Trish and Matt usually are. So I don't have any fancy slide decks, but I am going to click start on the recording before I forget, because I'll get in trouble if I don't. Boom, recording. Cool. So it is 3 minutes past 6 and we have a good few people here. I'm sure people will roll in. I know a few people are still finishing up client calls and grabbing bites to eat and what have you. So these things fluctuate. So welcome everybody to the UK Dynamics 365 and Power Platform User Group Virtual Edition. Tonight we are really up for some awesome sessions. So for those who aren't familiar, what we do is our first talk of the evening is more of an introductory and overview session, introducing new things to people or introducing different areas of Dynamics and Power Platform, latest features, all those goodies, and designed to give people a bit of an overview of things and a kind of basic level understanding. And then our second session, which we have after a quick break, will be a bit more in depth, a bit more technical. So trying to give people a nice, easy session to get into the evening, and then something to fry your brain for the rest of the night and leave you pondering plenty. So our second speaker is Mr. Ian Tweedie. But to kick us off tonight, we have the amazingly wonderful Malin. I mean, I've known Malin for a few years now. I've lost count. But I always remember that one of my very first interactions, I was giving my very first talk at the very first Scottish Summit event. And I made the comment in my talk that we all hate doing documentation. And there's always that one person in the audience. There's always that one person you can guarantee. And this time it was Malin. I enjoy doing documentation.
Yep.
So there we go. But Malin tonight is going to be talking to us about getting started with customer insights-data, which is one of the latest victims of Microsoft's endless rebrand cycles. So I've lost track of which product it actually was or is or ever has been. It's bad enough trying to keep remembering the name and Dataverse these days. So Malin, welcome. Thank you so much. And yeah, over to you. Feel free to share your screen and take it away. Looking forward to this.
Awesome. Good. So thank you for having me. First of all, it's always good to get to talk about customer insights data. It's not just that it's gone through renaming and rebranding and relicensing and everything like that. It's also one of the, I don't want to say unloved apps of Microsoft, but kind of is. And I think that stems from not a lot of people really know what it is. And Microsoft being Microsoft, the way they explain it is big, it's fluffy, and it's voluptuous, and it's all the big words that no one really knows or understands. So I'm gonna take it down a notch and try to explain first what it is, and then go into a bit of, okay, how does it look? What do all these words mean, and how can we actually understand and make this hopefully work? First, a bit about myself. So this is my QR code for LinkedIn. My name is Malin. I live in Oslo, Norway. I run my own company. I have done so for the past 2 years. I've been a business applications MVP since 2019, which is suddenly years, which is really, really crazy. I've also been a certified trainer since 2020, and this year I'm the only MCT regional lead in Norway. So all the certified trainers, and there's a lot of them throughout, and everyone has questions, and how do you do this, and where do you go, and how do you find it, and everything. But I started on the customer side. So my background and my degree is in marketing. So I have absolutely no development background or practice. I do not code. I have never coded. I passed the developer certification for Power Platform, so I can read a bit of code, but I fully refuse to code. There are people who are better than I am with that, and I'm going to let them continue to do their work because they like it. I don't. So enough with that. Which is kind of why customer insight is my thing. As Mike said, I like documentation. I wrote a book on dynamics marketing, customer insight journeys. So I like writing. I also do blog. I also laugh a lot and often very loud. So you can, a lot of the time when I go to events, you can follow me, or you can find me by following the sound of laughter, which is always fun. So the next event I'm going to now is Scottish Summit. So that I do have a couple, 3 sessions there. So if you are going there, please, if you see me, find me, say hello. Again, I laugh loudly. I'm not scary. And I love the community. So I arrange a lot of things. We just had this weekend, we had the Nordic Summit here in Oslo, and I have some other events that I run. I'm also an obsessive and massive Liverpool fan. So a lot of my time, and I will not miss a game. So I have sat at weddings, and I have sat at confirmations, watching the game on my phone. That is just how obsessive I am. So it's very good that this is today and not yesterday, because I would not have joined because there was a game on. So that's me. So normally my slides are pretty much only pictures. So fair warning, some of these slides have a lot of text. I don't mean for you to read it all, but there is a lot of text. Because this is how Microsoft explains customer insight data, which I think half the words are too long and tells you absolutely nothing. And after reading all of this, I still have absolutely no idea what it actually does. But if I take out the core of this, I have Customer Insights Data is a customer data platform, so a CDP that helps you deliver personalized customer experience by unifying and analyzing data from various sources. Still way too much. Still doesn't tell me anything what it actually does. So I told you it was a lot of text. There's a lot of text. I think it's I hope there are no Microsoft people here, but I think there's a special skill in writing a lot of text and not really being able to explain things super well. So I asked Copilot to take all that text and all that information and then explain it to me like I'm 10. Because this is what you then get. It's a tool that helps you know your customers better. Okay, see, this I do understand. Like, English is not my native language, it's my second language. these are all words I understand. So, okay, a tool that helps you know your customers better. Okay, so we're kind of getting to a point where I kind of, yeah, okay. I can read all the words, I understand all the words, but customer data platform that helps me learn more about my customers. Okay, but what does it do? What is it? Well, imagine you have a big box where you keep all your Legos. So everything is mixed up. It's a big ass box. They're all the different colors. They're all different sizes. And it takes you hours to find everything, or to find one small piece, or to find all your red pieces. So everything is mixed up and it's super hard to find anything. You still have all of that information and you still have all the Lego pieces, but you have no idea how they fit together. So the CDP, the Customer Data Platform, is then a organized box for your Legos or your customers. So your customer is this big box of Legos, and you can organize it. You can get the different colors of types of Lego. So you can get all the data sources in from different places. And then you have boxes where you can organize everything. So you can get your data and information about your customers from your website, from your stores, from your apps, from your, God forbid, Excel spreadsheets, from your Dataverse, from everywhere. But then you get it in organized. So your customers, your businesses can find and understand everything, and I say that with quotation marks, everything that your customer likes and needs, because all the data and all the information you have about your customers from everywhere is neatly put together and organized so that you can find all this data. So every little box has the correct things if you put it there. So as you might be able to see here, there are some that are different colors, some that are shaped weirdly, and one that is plain out wrong. But that's your data. Getting the correct data is hard. Organizing data to be correct is super hard. So, is it finally true? Have we gotten here? Can it be? If you've worked with the Microsoft world and CRM, Dynamic Sales, call it whatever you want. I call it CRM. If you worked with this for more than a couple of years, you have probably heard Microsoft talking about this 360-degree view of your customer. You can see all the information about your customer in one place. And then you start using CRM and you're like, no, you cannot. Not even close. You can see the sales information. So you can see all the sales information about your customer. And then if you have customer service, you can see the cases and everything. And if you're marketing, you can add on the marketing. Those are 3 different silos to put your data in. That's still not the 360-degree view you want. You want to see everything. You want to have all the information about your customer in one place. So, is this it? I'll ask again after I've done the presentation. Is this actually it? What we want to do is we want to build the digital twin. The more information you have about your customers, the better and liker the digital twin is to your customer. If you hardly have any information, the digital twin will look nothing like the customer, and your marketing will miss. your data-driven decisions will miss. So getting the most information about your customers, because you have a ton of data and a ton of information about your customers. It's just stored all over the place. Somewhere here, somewhere there, somewhere here. Some you don't even know you have, but other parts of the business have. It's in ERP, it's in CRM, it's on the internet, it's on your website, it's here, it's there. So how on earth can you come and build this digital twin in your, well, customer insights data? So what you do is you have your data. Again, Legos. It's kind of a theme today, apparently. All because of Matt Collins-Jones and Mike, who I know loves Lego. So you have your data, but your data, as we've already discussed, if you just have the Lego, it's just there. So what can you do? Well, you can sort it. Fine, you've sorted it, it's there. How do you do more? Well, we can arrange it. Okay, now we have arranged it. We can see that there are different places to be, and some are taller than others. There more. We can present it visually. We can easily see here that I have as many red blocks as I have yellow blocks. On the left side here, this isn't available. You can't see that at all. It's just arranged, like you've sorted it and you've arranged it, and some are on top of each other, but this is visually presented. How we go even further, well, we can take all the Legos and then we can explain it, and then we can have a story. Then we can get all this data and we can actually have this twin of our customers where we know what they like, we know what they bought, we know their complaints, we know what they haven't bought, we know they've read their emails, we know they clicked the links, we know we have all of this information. They have called us, we have talked to them for 45 minutes about a case. We should probably not send them an email saying, hey, do you know about this product since you bought the last one? Well, you've had 4 months of customer complaints, maybe not the right time to send this information. So this is the story and the vision for Microsoft to finally have, well, they don't say finally, I say finally, have this platform where we get all this information, where we can go from having this unstructured, unsorted, chaotic data that is coming in from everywhere, and then get a story. We can build our customers digitally, which is what we want, because every company I talk to want to be data-driven. That's the most important thing about everything. We want to be data-driven. We want to take our decisions based on data. Okay, where's your data? Everywhere. Okay, how do you do data-driven decisions? Well, we take it out in Excel. No, that's not being data-driven. So now it's your turn. How on earth can we learn customer insights data? Like where do we start? Do they actually want to be data-driven? Good question, Freya. They want to say they're data-driven, and they want to talk about being data-driven, and they want to tell Microsoft and other customers they are data-driven, and they take all their decisions data-driven, and then they have no correct data to show. They're guessing. For a lot of customers, they guess. Which, sorry, but that's how it is. But your turn. How can you get your hands on this? How can you test it out? I always start with trials.dynamics.com, and I have an environment. I can create my trials. You have 90-day trials, well, 30 days, which you can extend to another 30 days. You have 60 days. Or your CDX environment if you're a Microsoft partner. There you have 90 days demo environments. But trials is a good way to start. And then you get an environment. Oh, that was bright. Then you get an environment, a trial environment of CI data. It's still called marketing trial. That's just how it is, because names and everything. You can set up, you have your marketing trial, but you also have a demo environment where you have different industry demos. So you have your default, which has 2,000 customers, but you can also, depending on which type of customer you want to go to, you can get this. If you're going to a car manufacturer, if you're going to Rolls-Royce, they keep canceling flights now. So if you maybe go to a banking, banks all should want this, should have this, should use it. If you go to banking, then the data is set up for you. You don't need to do anything. You can show them what it looks like. How can you work with this and what can you show? So this is a very good way to start, because you need to have your data sources. So if you do this banking demo, and if you do all of this, then they have put in all of the data for you. So you don't have to start working. You don't have to struggle with getting the data in. It's all done for you. Be aware that with the demo environment, you can't add another data source. So there's no way for you to give it your own pizzazz. There's no way you can get your customers' data in. This is all set up. It's a super easy way of creating a demo, and you can do that. It most of the time works. Most of the time. But also you can't show too much under the hood, so to speak. You can't go into the data sources here, and you can't edit, and you can't do that much with it, which is hopefully what the customers want to see. So you can go to the marketing trial and you can do it yourself. One of the easiest, or two of the easiest way to doing this is to connect to Dataverse, because maybe you have set up a customer insight journeys at the same time, and these are connected. So you want to add the data from CIJ over to CI data, and then you can just connect the two. It's click, click, done. Probably one of the biggest benefits of CID is that it's in the same license as journeys, formerly known as marketing. So if your customer has marketing, this is a product they already have. This is a product they already pay for. There's no additional cost. There's no extra license. This is something a lot of customers out there already have access to, but are not using. So this is something to get your customers, to say to your customers, hey, you already have this. Why don't I set it up and show you a demo with your data that you have in it? It just costs the time for me to set it up, and then we can start using it. Then you can start using it. So Dataverse, of course, if you have sorted all your data into the Synapse or data lake, or the data lake with the common data model tables, then you can set up all of that, or you can use Power Query. And Power Query is Power Query no matter where you are, if you're in Power Apps or Power BI or Customer Insights data. So you have a ton of different sources you can add. You can do Dataverse here as well, but your SQL servers or your open APIs or data flows or any other places you might for some random reason have data. You can connect to Google Analytics to get your website data in. There's so much data that you have in your company that you can connect to and get out from here. So I, of course, went with Excel. And that is just because I have a 100,000 customers that I have taken from CID, so the data fits perfectly and I don't have to do too much with it. So I can connect with this, I can sign in, and I can either go directly to my SharePoint site and I can add a link to it, or I can upload the full file. I put all the data in, and then I need to transform the data. This is a lot of work. Potentially a lot of work. For 90% of customers, this is a buttload of work. It's so much work. Do any of you have any customers who can say they have full control over all the data that is in their database? I doubt it. If anyone does, I would really like to see it. Because most customers do not treat their data well. It's, yeah, everyone wishes. Everyone starts with good intentions and maybe say that they have the good data. But when you get the data in here and it's time to transform the data, and it's time to say, these are my headlines, and I can change the data so that the phone number, salary is in numbers, and the emails I know is in text. So I can do all of just changes with the data and make sure that my data is clean, and I remove the blank data, and I do all of this. And then I can get the data into the system. I here have connected to CI Journeys, and I have added my new source. So this, because it's managed by me, data source, it's shared with something else. Well, Dataverse. I have control over this. It is refreshing. And then I have my 2 different data sources in the system. But this is a very Norwegian thing. My Scottish partner had not heard about it, TTT. Things take time. And with customer insights data, things take so much time. It is getting all of this data into the system and refreshing the data sources in test especially, but it's not the quickest in production either, especially not if you have thousands and thousands and thousands of rows of data. Don't do Power Query for the millions of records. Just don't. It will kill your system. Which is why Fabric is coming in, Azure Data Lakes, and all those kinds of things. There's a lot of better ways of doing it, but for demo, have patience. It's not broken. It is just slow. Because you see this weird refreshing thing. You can't move on until the refreshing is done. So once both of your data sources are completely refreshed, then you can start working with the next step, which is unifying your data. So making sure that your customer is your customer no matter which data source they come from. So how can we connect the customer and make sure that the customer is the customer from Dataverse, from Excel, from your ERP system? How can you unify all of this data? How can you map all of this data together and make sure that you have the primary keys? And live demo for this one, it's not something you can do unless you do, now I'm going to click on this data. Now I'm going to map this field, map this field, map this field, and then I'm going to click save, and then we're going to go to lunch. And then after lunch, well, now all my customer data is unified. I can do the deduplication. I can do the matching rules. I can create the unified customer profile, which is kind of the most important thing, where you say this is your customer with the data coming in from all the different sources. Ta-da! Now we can move on to enrichment. So this is where you have other sources, either from Microsoft, from, well, all of this is Microsoft because it's demo, or there are some, especially in the UK, there are a lot of partners and companies delivering, such as address enrichment. So getting the full address for a customer, making sure that you have the correct one, adding more information about you always want more information about your customer. You want to have the digital twin, a complete copy of who you have today, which, I mean, is not technically possible, but you want to have as much data as you can. And then you can see, well, I've enriched this many customers. But you first have to do all the data steps before you even start here. And then once you have all this data in as well, then you can create the segments. So you can get some insights on your segments. You can get suggestions on segments. You can create your own segments. These segments can be used in marketing. So these segments can be automatically pushed over to custom insight journeys when you can create journeys with them. So you can create customers within 10, I don't know, mile radius, maybe customers with loans, customers with reviews say, hey, you have a loan with us. Do you need more? Do you want something? So you can also get customers with loans that hasn't paid in the last period. Okay, that could be a segment you maybe don't want to push more loan with. So that could bring in your CRM data with your ERP data, enriching the data that way, saying that, well, you have all this information in ERP, which is super helpful for not sending things to customers, or customers with complaints. So all your cases in customer service, well, I don't really want to do and send any marketing to my customers who are complaining at this point. I want to maybe leave them alone until their case is finished. Or I can see customers with loan and complaints. So a customer group, which is part of multiple segments, well, I want to see what's the intersect here. These types of segments I can use for excluding customers, for learning about my data. Because then when I have all these different data sources, I can all of a sudden get information about my customer that I can't in one system and I can't in another system, because these two are separate and the data there is no overlap over them. But once I put it in customer insights data, there's an overlap. I have all of this data. I can see this. I can get all the information from my data that I've had all along. I've just mashed them together and made sure that the digital twin is as complete as I can have it based on the data I have. Then you have measurements. So churn score, for example. How likely is it that my customer is going to not be a customer in 5 months, 2 months, 10 months, a year, 5 years? Based on the information that I have in my system about other customers who are no longer customers. I can set up all of this. I can create all these measurements. I can see all of this. So how much more likely is it that you will stay a customer? Because you have predictions. So you can do all these kinds of predictions and you can add all the data because you will have your sales data as well. You will have your customer service. You will have your sales. You will have all kinds of transactions. Have they visited our website? Is this something we need to think about? How likely is it that I still have you as a customer in 5 months, 90 days? I could guess. I could have an estimate guess on it. This will tell me with this likelihood, this person will or will not be a customer in 90 days. And with that information, you can create segments, and then you can send them another email. Maybe giving them an offer, too good to refuse, or giving them more information. I work a lot with membership organizations. They're super interested in how likely is it that you're not a member in a while, and how can I keep you? And all of this gives into one sweet overview, 360-degree overview that we've already always wanted about our customer. Churn score, so this is 0, good. Client survey score, because we could add customer voice surveys. How much money do they have with us? We can see all the information they have and some enrichment with brands that other customers like them are affiliated with. I can see all the information. I can have different time. So 2 days, I hope, or hours, maybe even better, to resolve a case that this person has with us, survey score. So I can customize kind of this information as well. I talk very quickly, I'm sorry, but there is so much information, and this is me just halving down the slides I was meant. There are some ways to find information if you want more of it. Hopefully I do. I hope I haven't scared you, because there are so many possibilities here, and there are so much for customers, but also for partners, because you probably have a lot of customers who are already using Customer Insight Journeys who have not started using this. It's not an extra license cost for them. They already have it. It is just getting all the data sources in together. Yeah. So not a lot of people blog about it. One is me and the other is Pauline. So paulinekolda.info. Really, really good. But if you're interested in this and you want to start blogging, please do, because not too many people are talking about it. There are, of course, some Microsoft sites. I can put everything in the meeting chat. And there are some videos as well. Again, not too much, but there is some information out there about Customer Insights data. But again, the best way is to set up a trial and to just start and test everything yourself and see. Try to go through how you can do this, have your set of data, connect the data, try the unification process, follow the docs. Learning material for Microsoft is really, really good. Now, do we have any questions? Because I think I have 4 minutes left. I'm on time.
You've got more than 4 minutes. You've got as much time as we need within reason.
Never say that to me. So are there any questions?
Feel free to stick your hand up, folks, or post in the chat, or come off mic and yeah.
So there are so many possibilities here. I'm really, really. I think there would be a lot more customers interested in this if we only understood what it was and what it could do, because we have all the data already. Do you want for just ABM?
Yeah.
Sure. Which
abbreviation? There are so many abbreviations out there. I just meant a sort of account-based marketing. So how are you, do you have any examples or how you're merging the individual view of a customer versus them, times the other members of their organization?
Yeah. No. Pretty much the answer now. There was once upon a time, there were 2 different sort of settings. So when you started customer insights data, did you have B2C or did you have B2B data? They removed the B2B completely. So now you just have the person focused. So it's getting the aggregated data is kind of hard. It's not something I've worked with at all. I'm so happy for that. But I'm guessing you could probably create some segments, and then based on the segments you can have the but that's not, yeah, or no, don't create the yeah. It's a harder one.
Yeah, we'll have to work it out.
Yeah. It's
I'll let you know how I get on.
Yes, please do. It is, as of now, at least, it's so much easier to work with customers. And I know there has been some questions for Microsoft, for the product team, about this, because there was a lot of customers who were missing the B2B place for all of this. Yeah.
It was such a B2B product that,
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So Lara, is there any check on the personal privacy policy check for data coming from different data sources? Nope. I don't care. Give me your data. I trust that you have control over the data, where it comes from. I hope. But that is also something customers need. Like, I haven't touched in GDPR at all, but that's a huge topic here. Like the similar customer part. Hey, you need to ask your customer if you could do profiling, or push it into the privacy notice of, I'm doing profiling. But you need to be sure that your customers know all of this and that they're aware of it. And you need to somehow tell them you are collecting all this data. Well, you need to anyway. You're collecting all this data, but especially if you do the profiling, other customers, similar customers to this, you need to be careful with that and go through all of GDPR with this. If you use this with customer insight journeys, and you push the segments back into CIJ, it will not create any new customers. It will update your existing customers. So it will only be the customers you have in your database already. So we won't be like, oh, I have a separate leads base. I don't know why you would. Don't do that. But if you do, then your data comes in, and then you say, oh, I'm going to push this directly to my CRM system, and then I'm going to do some work with that there. No, it won't create new contacts in Dataverse. It will just enrich what you have there already, and then you can use the customer profiles in CIJ to create other segments, to create, like, this is getting tighter and tighter, to create segments based on information that you have in CIJ, based on measurements and predictions and things. Again, making that data that you have merged and mapped in CI data available in CI journey as well. So that you don't have to fill your Dataverse with everything. You don't have to fill it. Don't put your ERP data in Dataverse. That's too expensive, and nobody wants that, and nobody should do that. You can maybe do it as virtual tables, but that's a different kind of irritation point. But have it in customer insights data, so that you have this good digital twin that you can act on, and you can send information to, and you can make sure that you stand apart. You're better at treating your customers than your competitors, because you are actually data driven. So again, if you're a consultant and you want to sell this to a customer, do you want to use the license you already have? And do you want to start taking data-driven decisions and have a 360-degree view over your customers. I mean, it's like utopia. Sounds like it's what Microsoft has been talking about for years. Well, customer insights data, if set up correctly and used correctly, can give you a lot of it. Is it perfect? No. Is it ideal and is it simple and does everything just work? No. There are bugs, but I mean, we know this. That's just how it is. Yes, matching logic is not just customizable, it's all up to you. So you say, what is your key that you want to match the data with? How does it look here and there? How can you make sure that this is it the ID? Is it the person number? Is it the, don't do it, phone number? Is it like, how can you make sure that your data is matched and mapped? Yes, because the not creating new customers but matching, it's you get the information. You have to connect CIJ and CID together, but once you have done that, that connection knows how who comes from Dataverse and who is connected, and that can just enrich. Everything is all part of customizations. And you can also export this. So your customers, you can export it to Google Ads. So you can actually say, this is a section of my preferred customers. These are the ones I make the most money of, that doesn't complain, that is just my ideal perfect customer. I want to do marketing with Google Ads to people who look like these people. So you can do exporting as part of it as well. So you can use this everywhere. So that we've said that, well, CIJ doesn't have any social media connectors and you can't do anything with it. Well, look on the other side. Look on the data side. Maybe there's something there where you can connect it and you can do these types of marketing and you can do the targeting and you can do the Facebook ads and you can, like, this is ever evolving, and there's a lot of things you can do with data that you've always wanted to do, but you haven't had all the data to do it. Any other questions?
I think you've stunned us all and got us all thinking about building lots of things with Lego.
Yeah,
which is all good by me.
Yeah, it's.
I do genuinely, literally have Lego all around me at the moment. So yeah, it's quite a lot of it. Anybody else got any questions or any thoughts or any comments? Anybody played with customer insights data?
Yeah. Freya just need to create a trial and test out everything and see how it will work.
Yeah, I've obviously been feeling a serious amount of FOMO in my 6 months off, so I'm keen to get back in it.
Yeah. Well, the good part is not that many people has worked that much with data. So you're not, even if you've been 6 months off, you've not lacked, you've not lost. There's not a lot of people who are way ahead of you. So it's easy catch up to do.
Yeah, good fun.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And some frustration and potentially some gray hairs and everything, getting all that working, and especially if there's a lot of data.
The Microsoft product, right?
Yeah. It's I know one travel agency in Scandinavia is using it, and they have so much data like you would not believe it, because they have thousands of people every single week in every single country. So they have so much data. So they have been struggling in getting all these millions of records and like just refreshing the data and having the data cadency and having everything updated here is, yeah, it's a lot of setup of the data. So this is no configuration. Like the actual platform is, there's nothing and you add a column here or you add a table here. No, it's all data. So it's data. You work with the data, you treat the data well, and you clean the data, and you do all the things with data that you always wanted your customers to have done. So if you've gotten a new system and you say, oh, we're going to clean the data later, well, this is later, and good luck. Hard work.
Cool.
I hope it's been useful, and I hope it's cleared up a bit about just what it is and what it can do, and is it something that I should be looking at all? And I think it's an upsell for every customer who has customized journeys. Because again, it's all about using what the customer already has and then start giving them more value for their money back for what they already pay for. So for once, we're not selling additional licenses. Imagine that. I don't want to sell you another product. I want you to use what you already have, which I think is quite amazing.
That's a novel thought. That's a new thought for us all. I mean, come on. It's all about licensing. All about licensing. Come on. I'm not going to open that can of worms tonight, though. It's too late at night to talk about licensing.
Yeah. This is Scottish Summit one, so I see a lot of you there.
After a few pints or whatever, that's usually the best time to talk about licensing. But awesome. Thank you so much, Malin. I cannot wait to see you in Aberdeen in a couple of weeks.
Just gonna leave that up for a while.
Yeah. All I will say is I do believe a certain team from the Midlands went to Anfield and inflicted a rather embarrassing defeat on Liverpool.
I mean, everyone can slip up once in a while.
Yeah, but you see, I am actually, not that I am a football fan in particular, but I am a Forest fan because my family are Nottingham, so yeah, I did enjoy that victory. But thank you so much, Malin. It was a wonderful session. I'm sure everybody learnt something and picked up many thoughts and radical concepts like no new licensing. Oh, careful.
Thank you for having me.
Brilliant. You're always welcome, you know that. Cool. Well, folks, what I will do is I will I have actually got a slide deck now. I've been productive while listening to Malin as well. I can multitask. It's true. It is true. But what we'll do, folks, is take a break. We'll come back at 7:05 for the next session with Ian, which I'm really looking forward to. So feel free, stretch your legs, grab a coffee, and we will see you all back here in 5 minutes, if I can actually find my PowerPoint deck that I have created, because my laptop's playing up. There's fun. There will be a slide deck, and for those watching us live, there will be a rolling video thanking all our wonderful sponsors and the amazing people who support us, because yeah, we can't do these things without all our amazing sponsors. So yeah, go grab a coffee, stretch your legs, take a comfort break, grab a quick snack, and yep, we will see you all back here at 7:05. Or you can just hang around and just take the mic and chat amongst each other, and yeah, we're all friendly. We're all friendly. Well, most of us. So yeah, cool. Right. So now we have the epic Mr. Ian Tweedie, who is going to share with us about backing up dev using Azure DevOps. So Power Platformy stuff and DevOpsy stuff and all that kind of goodness and excitement and what have you. So going to be a cracking session. So over to you, Ian, and welcome to the user group, and thank you. And yeah, fingers crossed. Good luck. May the demo gods be ever with you and all that lot.
Wow, yes. I have hopefully done everything I need to get the demo gods to be on my side. Thank you very much for inviting me along. The big question I'm going to ask you today is, are you backing up build? What would happen if you lost your development environment? How many hours of reworking are you prepared to do? A day's worth of reworking, a couple of weeks worth of reworking, the entire solution? And have you ever spotted a problem a few days later after something's changed, but you can't quite remember what it was before, but you'd really like to know what it was before to see if that was the real issue? Do you all share a development environment as well? Some organizations manage to separate all development environments, but are you all piling in the same place? Do you know what broke your problem? Are you only exporting managed solutions up your pipeline? I've seen that quite a lot where no one's exporting an unmanaged solution, and therefore if it all goes wrong, what have you got? So how often are you taking that unmanaged solution? My name's Ian Tweedie. I'm a Power Platform technical consultant at Capgemini. I'm also, for my sins, a trustee for digital transformation at Prosper Learning Academy Trust, where I'm trying to involve young people with technology and aid this Academy Trust with basically getting better at their data, which is quite an interesting, considering what we were just talking about. I have a problem, as you can all see. I need to do something about it, maybe get some more, but I've got a nice party of certs out there, from Black Belt to Agile to Cybersecurity Architect, TOGAF, ITIL, all the lovely ones. I've also built a couple of connectors. So these are on the Power Platform, they're signed off by, they're official connectors. I had to put them under a name called Mytora because for various reasons, they have to be backed by a legal entity. In order to get actually into the platform, but they're in there. And I promoted it last week. I've had it running over the summer just to kind of as a soft launch. And I promoted it last week, and you see there I've had a bit of an uptick in traffic coming into my connector. So the last 30 days, I've had about 194,000 API calls against my connector, which is quite a lot and slightly more than the 300,000 you get from Microsoft. So it's really good. Don't worry, I've somehow squared away the back end costs. So it's a connector that calls a function that does some funky stuff. But if you are looking to calculate your working day, please feel free to use it. It's free, and I'd really prefer you used it than you didn't, because otherwise all my work's gone in the bin. But I built it as a bit of fun. In terms of community content, I've got a blog, put some stuff on my GitHub. I've got a YouTube channel. So let's look at today's problem. So today's problem is we are going to talk about Annie and Jack. Now, Annie, now this is what ChatGPT thinks Annie and Jack look like. I didn't draw this myself, but Annie is a senior Power Platform developer. Jack is a new junior, and Annie's always busy in meetings and she's on client calls and she's just not there all the time, and Jack's there trying to guess what to do. They both work in a shared development environment. Now, Jack's making some changes today, and what he's doing is he's been told to delete this form. So he's just looking around. And he's going, right, is it site settings? Is it in site markers? Where is it? And we're talking about Power Pages portal, but this could be just about anywhere in the system where you could cause a similar amount of damage. And he's found the form. Okay, cool. And he can see a delete button. So he's going to press it. Now, I don't know if any of you have been on a project where this has happened, but I've watched someone do this in front of me before on a Teams call. And it's pretty scary at this moment because there is no way back. Bye-bye, all your work. That entire website is now gone. almost the entire website is now gone. It will leave some stuff behind, but just about every entity is a child entity of the website record in one way, shape, or form. So that's all gone. Oh dear. And as we can see, it's empty. There's nothing here. Basic form, ironically, still there, but lists are gone, website links are gone. It's all just empty. Now, there are differing degrees of damage you can do, but that's just an example of one element of damage. So what's the solution? The solution we're going to talk about today is Azure DevOps, mainly because we can set it away to do stuff automatically, and we can view the inside of the code. Now, viewing the inside of the code isn't everyone's party. I totally get that. But today I'm going to show you how we can do it in the lowest code version we can. There is another way to do this. You can do it in YAML, a YAML pipeline as well. If you're interested in doing that, I'll give you a link at the end. Well, I'll point you in the direction at the end of a YouTube video I did on a deep dive on how to do this exact process, but in a YAML pipeline. But today we're going to use DevOps Classic because it's lower code. It hasn't officially been announced that it's hasn't officially been announced that it's been deprecated. It's still there. It's just something you have to turn on. So prerequisites when you're doing this, I'm assuming you're a system admin of your Dataverse environment, and to do it you'd need to be a DevOps project administrator with a basic license. It's only about £4.50. It's not a massive spend. It's one of the cheaper licenses you ever come across. The other thing you need to do is you need to request Azure DevOps Parallelism. What a word that is to say at 7 o'clock on a Thursday night. But you need to make that request. You get 1,800 minutes of free per month, more than enough for a lot of people. But of course, you can buy additional minutes. That's not a huge problem. I think additional minutes are about £30. And so the first thing we need to do is we need to install the build tools. So the DevOps build tools are free. These are the pack tools that some of you will be familiar with. Some of you will use these in Visual Studio Code. Some of you won't know what I'm talking about. But these tools allow you to perform certain actions from your pipeline against Dataverse. So just going to install that, and that's now available in our project. Our organization's called Tweedie, and our project's called Tutorials. I've got a couple of other ones there. Bet you can't guess which one I play in. You've also got to create an app registration. Now, app registrations are really useful. There is a way to do this using pack tools and command line, but I'm going to show you the way of doing it using Microsoft Entra, because I think app registrations are amazing. They're unsung heroes, and we can do an awful lot with them. So today we're just going to give our app registration a name. We can call it Dataverse Backup Classic. And we don't need to select anything else. We can just register. After that, we need to give it some API permissions. So we're going to add an API permission. And then, talking about products being renamed, as Mike was earlier, we're going to click on Dynamic CRM. There's a blast from the past. And then we're going to click on User Impersonation and click Add Permissions. Now, you can do this without admin consent. You don't need to consult an administrator. I mean, you should make sure you follow your organization's IT policies. But you can do it without admin consent. We then need to copy the client ID and the tenant ID for later. We're going to need to keep hold of those. The other thing we need to go and grab is a secret. So we need to create a secret, and this will be valid for about 730 days, I think it is. There we go. And we're going to copy the value, not the secret ID. And that has been changed. So we're going to copy that. The next thing we're going to do is, because we've now created a new user, service principal from our app registration, we need to do something with that user. So we need to give our user access to our environment, because if they don't have access, they can't do anything. So I'm going to click on Settings, and we're going to come down to the users part of it, and then we're going to click on Application Users. And once in there, you can see we've got various other application users already in there from the system. We're just going to click on New App User, and we're just going to find that app registration we just created. Now we can see Dataverse Backup. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to give it a business unit, and we're going to assign it a security role. Now, because it's moving stuff in and out of our systems, solutions, we need to give it system administrator. So hit create. And there we go. That's all finished. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to go back to DevOps. And we've got to tell DevOps where our Dataverse instance is. We also have to give DevOps some credentials to access Dataverse. So what we're going to do is we're going to come down and we're going to click on Service Connections. You can see I've got some from earlier. We'll just ignore them. We're going to click on New Service Connection. And we're going to scroll down this list and we're going to find the Power Platform one. We're just going to select it. Then click Next. Now we've got to fill out some information. So the information we need to provide is the client ID. That's what we captured earlier. The tenant ID, the secret, and the server URL. What's a server URL? What's that all about? That's a new term, isn't it? Don't really have server URLs. So the server URL, as far as Dataverse is concerned, is our environment URL. So we're just going to copy that here, put that on a notepad somewhere where we're going to delete everything afterwards. Obviously, we're not going to leave a secret sat on a notepad. That would be naughty. Next, we're going to copy and pop these things in. Now we need to make sure you put HTTPS in here. Don't just paste the environment URL of your organization, otherwise it won't work. Next, we're going to pop our tenant ID in. And our application ID, which is also our client ID. There's another name exchange that takes place. And finally, our client secret. Next, we're going to pop a name in for our connection. Now, I personally always try and follow the name that I've got in app registrations. So if I need to join the two up, I can. So Dataverse Basic Backup Classic. And I'm just going to add that, and we don't want to save that for later. Fantastic. So we're almost ready to go. There's one or two more things we need to do. Now, I did mention about classic pipelines earlier. So classic pipelines, we have to change something in our organizational settings. So to do that, we click on Org Settings, and we scroll down this list, and we just need to untick these two boxes here. Don't worry, this presentation will be available afterwards, so you will be able to go back through all these steps. And of course, I think it's recorded as well. Next, we need to go and create a repository. So we need somewhere to put our stuff when we've downloaded it. So we're going to create a repository now. And we're going to call it Dataverse Backup Classic, a really original name that I've never used before. We're just going to hit create. And there we've got somewhere to put our stuff. What's really good about Azure DevOps is currently, as of today, there's no limit to what you can put in here, as in how much space you can use. I suspect that will change. Someone will use it to store an entire movie collection at some point, and Microsoft will get very upset. But at the moment, that's all we need. So we now can come to pipelines, and we're going to create ourselves a new pipeline. And down the bottom here, we've got this option called Classic Editor. So let's just click on that, and we get this nice screen. Now we're in the right project because we're in tutorials. That's where we want to be. We want to store our code in a Git repository, and the one we just created. And we're not really worried about branches. We don't need to worry about branches at all. Next, we're just going to select Empty Job. And now we've got a nice screen. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to give our pipeline a name so it means a bit more to us. So let's just give it a name, an original name for this tutorial, Dataverse Backup Classic. Now these names don't need to be the same. They could be anything you want. I've just named them the same for simplicity. Now another important aspect is we need to have that on Windows, and we want a clean repository from our sources. Finally, we need to click on this agent job, and we need to scroll down, and we need to click on allow scripts to access the OAuth token. That's important. We'll need that later on in order to take what we've downloaded and push it into our repository. Without that ticked, it doesn't work. There is another thing that stops it from working, but we'll come to that in a little bit. So next, we're going to add our Power Platform tool installer. So this gives us the tools to talk to Dataverse. Just add this in. We can see here, we've got various options. We don't need to worry about ticking any of them today. And we can also see it's got versions. At the moment, there's only version 2, so we don't need to worry about it. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to add the ability to export our solution from Dataverse. So let's do that. So we can click on this plus. I'm just going to search for that. We can see there we've got it. So we're just going to add that in. Next, we're going to select our service connection. Now we've just created this. So let's go to the drop-down menu and let's just select Backup Classic. Go. We don't need to worry about environment URL. We do need to say where we're going to put our solution. So this is where the zip file is going to go, and this is the name of our solution. So where do we get the name of our solution from? So if we jump back into the Maker portal, I say back, although we haven't been there today, but we go to the Maker portal, it's this name here. It's not the display name. This name here is the name that works. I'm just going to copy that. And we're going to go back into our environment, our DevOps environment, and we're going to paste it in here. Just going to add a zip on the end. And remember, we're exporting an unmanaged solution, so we don't need to worry about ticking that managed flag at all. Just going to save that. The next thing we're going to have to do is we're going to have to use a little bit of PowerShell. However, stay till the end. I've got a tool that means you don't have to, so you can be completely low code throughout this process. But the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put some PowerShell in. The PowerShell we're going to get put in basically commits what we're downloading to a repository. So just to step back over what we're doing here is we are installing a tool in our pipeline. We are then exporting a solution. We're then pushing that solution into a repository. And that's going to happen very similar to a Power Automate flow. It's just going to do it. We're going to see that take place in a minute. And this is the step where it's pushing it into that repository. So we've got it somewhere. Let's add that in. If we're going to add it the code way, we just need to search for PowerShell. Then we want to do an inline script. I'm just going to drop this code in. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to give this a run. Let's see if it works. Do it, press run. What's actually happening on the cloud is it's going to spin up the virtual machine for us, and then it's going to run, behind all those little tasks we added in is a load of code, and it's running the code for us. We don't need to really understand what it's doing. It's doing it for us. The first thing it's doing is it's checking out the existing repository that we've got. There's nothing in it at this point. It's then installing the Power Platform tools. It's getting the latest version. It's then connecting to our Dataverse environment. You can see it there on line 13. It's authenticating itself. It's then going to export the solution. We'll see that taking place in just a moment. And you can see here it's starting to do the export. Now, one of the things to remember here is you'll see it gives you a percentage of time. Now, it's the percentage of time allocated that it's used. Now, it allocates 60 minutes. So what I'm trying to say is don't expect it to get to 100%. If it does, the chances are you've been sat there for 60 minutes. It will probably get to the highest I've ever seen it go is the high 20s. But you can see there, it's exported the solution. Now it's running the PowerShell script. Oh no, what's happened? So our PowerShell script to push what we've downloaded into our repository has failed. And it's failed because we need to set a permission. So it's just one little permission, and we just need to set it. I'm just going to show you how we set it. Let's zoom in on that error. So the permission we need to set is generic contribute. Doesn't mean a lot to a lot of people, but it's the ability for our virtual machine to push our code into the repository that we created, because we don't want to just let anybody in. So let's go and add that. To do that, we click on project settings and we go and find our repository. We then click on security and then all the way down to the build service. And over here, we've got this option that says contribute, and we're just going to set that to allow. It saves automatically. So let's go back and run our pipeline again, and let's see if it works. See there, it's spinning up this virtual machine again. It's checking out the repository. It's got nothing in it apart from a README file. Then installing the tool. Then exporting the solution out of our Dataverse environment. Oh, we'll do in a minute anyway. There you go, it's authenticated, connecting, and it's just going to start pulling out for us. Now, if you got to 0.57 last time, let's see what number it gets to this time. It should be about the same. It's a bit quicker. And now our PowerShell script is pushing it into our repository. So let's see what we've got. Well, we've got a zip file. That's awesome. Can't do much with it though. Can't see inside it. And that may be all you want. If that's all you want, awesome, fantastic. We're exporting a zip file. Go and get a cup of coffee, come back in 10 minutes time and I'll show you how to do the schedule. If you want to see what's inside the zip file though, and you want to know what's changed, and you want to know what changed yesterday and what changed today and what changed 3 days ago, that's the bit I'm going to show you next. And that bit's really quite cool. So let's get our geek on. Let's go back into our pipeline. Going to edit this one, and we need to go and look for another task to add to our job. And the task we're looking for now is unpacking our solution. Let's just find it. Unpack solution. There we go. And we're going to grab this and move it up so it's above our PowerShell script that's pushing that code into our repository, because we don't want it to push the code and then unpack it. We want to find out what's inside first. So we need to give this step a couple of bits of information. We need to give it the zip file where our solution is, and then we need to tell it where we want it unpacked to. So we want it unpacked to a SRC directory, and then a directory called calculate working day. We also want it to process our Canvas app. And what that means it's going to do is going to unpack our Canvas app so we can see what's changed. Now, it's not massively human readable, but you can figure out what's changed and what's happened. You can use that to reverse engineer and go backwards. So let's give that a run. We've got a script running. Now, I think we've all seen this a few times. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to skip forwards. If you do want to watch it, you can come back and look at the presentation later and you can see it take place. It did run. And what we've got now is we've got our solution has been unpacked into all its component parts. So our solution currently contains a Canvas app, an entity, it's got a workflow, count tables, business units, it's got various bits and bobs inside it. It's got a settlement line and a settlement. And you can see all of the configuration information that makes up that solution is all unpacked, which is brilliant because when it changes, we can see what's changed. Because at the top of the screen, next to the word contents, we've also got history, compare, and blame. Now, blame's a bit harder to use because the way I'm going to encourage you to use this is on a schedule, so you won't know who did the change, but you can see Tuesday afternoon there was a change made, and the change was something inside the Canvas app, and you can see what that thing is. So what we're going to do now is we're going to make a change to a Canvas app. I'm going to show you how that change is visible in the repository. And you can see you can read it. It's not brilliantly human, I do give you that, but you can see what's changed. So let's jump into our solution and let's open up our Canvas app. There's not much going on inside the Canvas app. I don't need to get excited. It's just a very simple Canvas app. And what we're going to do is we're just going to edit this text field here. Make it a bit bigger. Just that. Fantastic. So now what we want to do is we're going to rerun our pipeline and see if we can spot a change. Let's give it a run. Now, you'll notice that the times on this don't exactly run because I thought you might all fall asleep if we waited 10 minutes every time we run this. So there's been a slight bit of editing go on. Although probably not enough. We're just exporting our solution at the moment. Yeah, this is what this is really good for when you're on a project is for getting cups of coffee. And now if we go and look inside of our repository, let's have a look in our commit. So every time we make a change, it's making a commit. We can see the stuff that's changed. Now, some of this stuff, don't expect you to understand, but let's have a look inside of a folder that maybe have something to do with it. So let's look inside a folder called Canvas app. Let's look at the name of our Canvas app, and let's look at one called SRC. And then let's have a look at screen 1. I suspect that's got something to do with what we changed. And as you can see here, line 8, you can see the change. You can see the old and you can see the new side by side. You can also see the height. You can see the height that's changed. Now, this is really handy. If you're not sure what changed 3 days ago in your Canvas app and you want to know because it's broken something today, or you've been on holiday and you've just come back and something's gone wrong, you can come in here and you can see what it was very easily. So let's continue on because we want to add some other things. So we don't always export solutions. Sometimes we need to export data. Sometimes we have reference data. So we can create using the CMT tool, and I'm not going to use the CMT tool today. We can create a schema file using the CMT tool. And what that allows us to do is it allows us to contact Dataverse and say, hey, I want to export all this information, and then we're going to take that information and we're going to push it into our repo. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to download a copy of our portal, Power Pages portal. So let's just add the export data step. And once again, we're going to have to drag it so it's above our commit to our repository. And we're going to connect our export data step to using our service principal. We're going to tell it where the schema file is. So it was schema.xml on the previous screen. And once we've downloaded that file, we want to save the contents to a zip file called data.zip. Now, because we want to see inside that, we're going to extract that. So we're going to use a extraction step. I'm just going to copy because I didn't want to type. I'm just going to paste that in here. And then we're going to tell it where we want to unpack this to. So what we're doing is we're contacting Dataverse. We're saying, we've got a schema here, export this information for me. It's exporting it down as a zip file, putting it somewhere, and then we're going to extract it, and we're going to push all that extracted information into our repo. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to download a copy of our portal. Once again, we're going to connect using our service principal. We're going to set a download path. So we want to stick it in here, but actually, I'm going to put an ID in. I want to put it in P pages. If I can spell. Then we want to grab the ID of our website record so it knows which one you want to download. We want to tick this overwrite data box. So we're going to save that. Hang on a minute, Microsoft have just made a change here. If you're using the enhanced data model and not the standard model, you need to make a change at this point. So something to check before you do this is, are you using standard or enhanced? Because the approaches are different in the pipeline. If you're using enhanced, we need to put a number 2 in. We just need to put a number 2 just in here. So let's save this. And let's queue it up. That's very quick, 24 seconds. Maybe a little bit of video editing has gone on. So we've contacted Dataverse, exported our solution, unpacked our solution, exported the data, extracted the files, downloaded the portal. Quite a few steps that would take you quite a lot of time if you were doing it manually, but we're doing it in a pipeline. So we're pushing a button and making coffee. That sounds awesome. Like, that's the way we want to live life. So let's go and see what we got. Let's check inside our repository. I'm going to open up, and look, we've got our reference data, we've got our schema, and we've got the data. Now, this is as exciting as data gets, but it depends on what you chose to download. You can also have a look at our Power Pages. And inside Power Pages, these are all YAML files rather than XML, like the rest of the environment. And you can see all the different settings are here. Now, they're not much fun to look at, but when something goes wrong, you can come in here and have a look at your commit. You can even go all the way down to the HTML itself that sits on a page inside your Power Pages portal. Very useful, very handy when something goes wrong or someone deletes something or you need to restore part of a solution. However, it's not very human readable, is it? So I was thinking I'd make an extension. So I have. Now, it's kind of in preview at the minute, hence why the documentation page is quite blank. But I will be improving it, and I will be popping some YouTube videos out about how it works. So if you want to know more, please follow me on LinkedIn and I'll do my best to get it up and running as quickly as possible. But let's just search for it. Now, we've got quite a few things in here. We've got something to edit our XML nodes, quite an advanced thing, but you can actually rename views on parts of your solution while it's in a pipeline being deployed to a target environment. One of the projects I did previously, we renamed the model-driven app with a build number. So everyone knew what build people were looking at, their model-driven app inside the target environment. Now, for these to work, they just need the location of your unpacked solution. And inside them, they've got some wizardry that will read the unpacked solution, and it's going to generate documentation for your tables and relationship diagrams for your tables, which is pretty cool. The last thing I did, because I saw that PowerShell could be painful for some people, I wrote a task that would do that for us as well. And I've put a commit message in that says hello. So let's give that a go. Let's run this now on our pipeline and let's see if it works. I've timed out, that was like 6 seconds, that 2-minute 48-second pipeline took to run. So let's see what we got. We've now got a folder called Wiki, and we've got this markdown stuff. If we preview it, it looks quite pretty. But we've got this relationships one as well. Now the relationships one looks prettier when you look at it from the wiki part of DevOps. You can get all of your tables and all their relationships drawn out like this. And I didn't do any work to do that. I just put my solution in, and the code wizardry drew those diagrams out for us. So that extension is available now. I'm not really promoting it at the moment because I'm still doing some work on it. But when I've finished it and I'm a little bit happier with it, then I'll be sharing it a bit more widely. And as someone said to me the other day, you're never off social media. So now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add a schedule trigger. So we've got our solution exporting. Awesome. We're exporting our reference data. We're exporting our portals, and we're turning it into pretty diagrams and nice documentation. But we want to run this without touching it. We don't want to sit here and get bored like the gentleman in the chat that Larry's posted. We want to be getting on with our lives, and we want to just fire and forget. So we can click on triggers. Now we've scheduled this to fire twice a day. You can schedule it to fire every hour of the working day. Remember, you've only got 1,800 minutes, and that pipeline took 3 minutes to run. So it's a bit of a math thing to do there. 1,800 minutes, you could buy additional minutes though. I think unlimited minutes a month is only something like £30 a month. So a small cost compared to the price of paying a developer to redo a whole load of work. But on environments I work on, I commonly set this at just after midday and at the end of the working day. So the biggest risk you've got is losing an afternoon's worth of work or a morning's worth of work. And also it gives you a nice checkpoint to see what's happened and see what's changed in your environment. Now, I did talk about Dataverse for Teams. It is possible to export Dataverse for Teams in a pipeline. I've written, although I put the wrong word on it, I've written a task to export Dataverse for Teams. So I haven't taken you through the whole setup of this pipeline. I've just dropped a new pipeline in. So we've got the Power Platform tool installer. We've then got this task, and we have to grab the environment URL. Now, I will at some later point dive deeper into how to grab the environment URL. And then, of course, we're going to commit it. So let's see if we can export using a pipeline from Dataverse for Teams. And of course, we can import. If we can export, we can import. But we're only going to export today. We'll back it up. So let's have a look. Let's run our pipeline. Now, this pipeline works slightly differently. You can't put it on a schedule at the moment. I'm working on that. So at some point, you'll get this browser login thing. So it's saying you need to log in using a browser and a code. So I'm going to pop the code in, and you do have to watch it for this popping up. Type my password in, complete two-factor. Now we're going to go back to our pipeline and watch it continue to run. You can see line 12, I've successfully signed in. So let's let it run. So it's connected up to Dataverse for Teams, exporting the solution, unpacked it, and it's committed it to our repository. Now let's just double check that it is all there. Go for our Dataverse for Teams repository, and inside the source folder, you can see I've got our Canvas app. Now we've got the unpacked version of our Canvas app, which is done slightly differently on this tool. It's all there. I know that was a lot. Presentation is available afterwards. You can go through it a lot more slowly. Are there any questions? Everyone's gone to sleep.
Again, folks, feel free to pop questions in the chat or come off mute. I'm sure Ian doesn't bite unless you ask him to. I mean, yeah, just I think everybody already probably thinking through, okay, how can we be using this ourselves? I know I've already got a couple of messages from people saying, this would be really useful here. So, yeah, no, really cool stuff, Ian.
This presentation is hosted on GitHub. It's not PowerPoint, as some of you may have spotted. So anyone can access it. I'll drop this link into the chat. People can access it straight away. Or if they want, they can just scan the QR code just there. I'd also really appreciate feedback. I'm quite new to speaking at events. I think it's my 3rd or 4th event now. So I'd really appreciate feedback so I can improve myself and get a little bit better. But there's a link to the presentation I've just posted in the chat. Thanks very much for having me along.
No, thank you very, very much for sharing. So, quick question from Alfie there. I'm assuming in one pipeline you can create an agent job per solution you want to export.
You can export as many solutions as you want. You just add different tasks in, and as long as you've got somewhere you want to push it in the repository, you're sorted. Obviously, don't stick them in the same place unless you're planning on merging them together.
Nice. Ooh. Anybody else? Any more for any more? Alrighty. Okay then, folks. Well, I would just like to say a massive thank you to both of our speakers tonight, to Malin and to Ian. Amazing sessions, both of them covering topics that, yeah, can seem quite complex and quite time consuming, but endless benefits. So when is the next virtual UG? Good question, Dan. No idea on that score. However, I did post earlier in the chat, there are a bunch of dates coming up across England. I won't say the UK because that'll upset people who aren't in England. We've got user groups coming up in Cambridge, Manchester, Birmingham, Bristol, Newcastle. Can't spit. Must use my words. Newcastle, Reading, and London. So there's a whole heap of them. And on the 28th of November, whether you're in the south, in the Midlands, or in the north, there's a user group on the 28th for you because we've got 3 of them in one evening. So check those out. We will be scheduling virtual UG at some point, and we'll put out our usual call for speakers and everything else. The call for speakers is open now for the 10th of December. I did pin it as a message in Teams, but I'll post the link again. We're always looking for people new and established speakers. We love seeing new people in the community coming along, sharing topics from beginner stuff, because, hey, we all start somewhere and there is just so much stuff. I mean, I'll be honest, I know so little about pipelines. It is embarrassing, really. But then if you ask me something about Dataverse, then yeah, that's where I sit. So there's always something we can all learn. So we can have real beginner sessions all the way up to case studies and new products, new features, and in-depth tech dives, as you've just seen here. So yeah, once again, a massive thank you to all of our sponsors who support us with these events. I know I bang on about it, but genuinely, we cannot put these events on without the awesome sponsors who support the community and allow us and enable us to do this. So yeah, and thank you everybody who's attended with us on Teams tonight, everybody who's watched us on LinkedIn and YouTube or is watching us back now. Thank you all very much. I hope you've all found it massively informative and entertaining. And yeah, folks, we will wrap it up there. Have a great evening, and we will either see you in person. Don't forget, Scottish Summit is coming up in 2 weeks. Not that I'm excited about that, although I must admit I do have to write my own presentation for that one. So you've got Scottish Summit in 2 weeks and then all the different UGs. So we'll see you around at an event somewhere or next time virtually. So have a great evening, folks. See you all soon.